Welcome to Talk with the CEO, a podcast by the International Humanity Foundation.
IHF offers learning and leadership opportunities, operating with transparency and volunteer dedication.
Founded by Carol Sasaki, a visionary leader and humanitarian award recipient, IHF provides free education and hope to children worldwide.
Join Carol Sasaki as she shares her experiences and lessons on Talk with the CEO. From Kenya, where people say, andika kwa Kiswahili, ongea na mkurugenzi mtendaji.
To Indonesia, where they say,
tulis juga dalam bahasa Indonesia, bicara dengan CEO.
We all call it Talk with the CEO. This podcast is dedicated to teaching you invaluable life lessons through the stories and experiences of Carol Sasaki. So sit back, relax, get ready to be inspired. Welcome to Talk with the CEO. Hello and welcome to the first episode of our new show, Talk with the CEO. I'm your host, Darice, and today my co-host, Aniekeme, and I are excited to catch up with Carol, our CEO of the International Humanity Foundation. We'll be discussing the highlights and challenges of the past month, focusing on the IHF centers in Bali, Thailand, Indonesia, and Kenya, as well as updates on the online Global Leadership Development Program, GLD. So welcome, Ma. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, darling. I love being here.
We're so glad to have you with us. Aniekeme, why don't you start off with the first question?
Thank you very much, Darius. Thank you very much, Ma, for being here with us. Okay, Ma, I have a question for you. How was the past months for IHF?
A nightmare. The past month for IHF has been super challenging. My mother got COVID for the third time and was in quite a bit of pain, which is difficult. At 95, she's amazing. And it's ridiculous that I, 25 years younger than her, don't want to lose her at 95. At the same time, we've had record-breaking heat here, going 126. We're near a place called Death Valley. We're in the desert of California, which is a wonderful location in its history with original Americans and several different really amazing, fascinating tribes around us, as well as many migrants from various countries, people who are such a blessing with so many skills. So it's a great place to be, but climate change, the weather has been hitting all-time highs, one after the other. On top of this, we've had a brand new program, and brand new for me, of online GLD. We started it with our darling, amazing, oh my God, so beautiful, Dia and Marcella, and in Indonesia, and it was going really well. So we decided to expand it, and I did so probably too quickly. And I told my other projects that I would need to take time off, and the centers that I couldn't focus on them as much as I normally do, and the children. I warned everyone that I would be focused on training our online GLD, but as is so typical of learning anything new in life, I mean, it's just normal. And you'd think by my age, I'd know, but I'm a slow learner. It's taken a lot longer than I thought it would. And the result of that is I have children who are feeling like I don't love them and taking it personally because I haven't been giving them the time they usually get from me. And I have centers who feel like I've completely neglected them. And government reports and things that are due around that. At the same time, I'm still in the midst and having to repeat instructions for teams. And along with repeating instructions is something else that is so normal in any kind of leadership. And that is instructions when you're dealing with transient populations, which volunteers are, which students are, and which you're very poor, have no choice, but often are. Other than tribes that are out in outer areas and they have the opposite problem, they're not able to go anywhere and are not given land rights and stuck in places that are no longer very habitable. But otherwise, that transience is a normality in doing many, many forms of first response rescue work or social movement changes or charity. I don't like that word, work of any kind. So I should have expected that even as we're doing the training for the new online GLD program, there would need to be changes made as we're teaching. And I did not account enough time and flexibility for that. The other reason I think it's been a difficult month, I don't want to repeat. I normally love IHF. IHF is the long-term solution. It's the future. It's the sunrise of every day. IHF is my joy. Save and the Rescues is helping certain people and without a long-term solution. And the same for my other projects. Whereas IHF is the long-term solution, my belief, the only long-term solution. And meaning, if we don't do this, what do we do? And it incorporates to all other long-term solutions. So I normally love it, and I get to have time with children, which always makes me happy and giggling. And instead, I've been making call after call of, why are you not following instructions? This is the 6th time I've told you this. Why are you not using the template I sent to you? Why are you blah, blah, blah? So I have felt in an hourly grouchy mood. That's my answer, Aniekeme, my love, my darling. I don't want another month like this, honey.
Hopefully, you won't have another ones like this. Well,
yeah, I hope not. Though, that's our mission. That is what makes us so gorgeous, so exquisite in the world, is that we are one place where people are supposed to, from all walks of life, be able to learn leadership skills and practical ways to help their community or their country. So it's kind of ironic that hypocritical Grandma Carol is really impatient with having to be patient with teaching. Yeah.
Well, now that you've said a bit about your centers, you've not paid attention to them as much as you would usually do. So my next question is this: can you update us on the current activity and initiatives at those centers? What's happening? Let's just get a rundown of it a
All
little
right,
bit.
very important. And they're all very upset with me, not just in IHF, in all my projects. The centers are rightfully upset with me because I've been spending most of my IHF time just on training the online GLD, and then on retraining, and then on retraining, and then on retraining, and delayed any attention to them. So there really have gone too long without my attention, and it has to stop. At this point, the online GLD need to really start focusing and actually learn to follow instructions, which is the first and foremost important thing in leadership. Otherwise, how can you teach anyone else to? And so that's going to end. So here we go. Bali, we have had several people come in offering to go to Bali. I have not had time to deal with the situation in Bali, and the center, which everyone loves, it's at the ocean there, but the center at Bali and the rehab it did, I just don't have time. I cannot be doing the online GLD who are still not doing their teams correctly and also focus on Bali. So I've had to tell them all, I simply can't. I'm so sorry. Bali has to wait. Bali does bring in a lot of money with student groups during the summers, which is these coming months. And we won't be able to do that because of this, but I've had no choice. I've had to retrain and retrain. And it's been very important I do. So in Bali, it has just sat waiting for me, and it's really sad. And I have had emails from my darlings in Bali saying what is going on, and I've tried to explain the situation to them. But I'm dearly hoping that finally the online GLD are going to listen to what they've already been taught over and over again and do it properly. If they don't have the proper templates, make sure they get them and do it. And I won't have to focus all my 8 hours IHF time, which has ended up being 16 hours a day IHF time on that. And I can open Bali again. I feel very badly for them. It's just a matter of time. And there's only so much time in a day, and I do have to get some sleep. And my mother, I treasure my time with my mother and family. So even though that's been very limited, I've had to hold Bali on hold, and I've had to hold Thailand. And Pratya, who I love dearly, and I'm so sorry to, he kept his promise to become a lawyer and to help other children that are trafficked in sexual slavery, to get them green cards and to help the tribes, the Aka and Lahu. And he wants to open Thailand again. And Emil has offered to go to Thailand, but I've had to tell them I can't handle it until the online GLD are actually doing their teams. I've put 8 months into this, and if I stop now, I will have wasted 8 months of my life and put our centers on hold for nothing. Please give me a little longer. So they're ready, they're waiting, but they're waiting for me. And that's just life and the situation. I do continue to do through my SAVE and my other efforts. I do the one-on-one work and group work, thankfully, with the children who are grown. And that's the case in IHF also. I don't know what would have happened to IHF if it's not for the grown children keeping their pass it on promise, and they're continuing to do it in Jakarta and Medan, and Kenya is always a problem. It's always a problem. So for our centers, let's go center by center. Right now in Kenya, we have had theft, nothing unusual, constant theft in Kenya. We have had Kenya's constant theft happen again. And this time it was with people who I really didn't expect it from. Sometimes some volunteers that come in, I know they enter in order to see what they can get away with and do. It's from the beginning, it's a con. And I've known that for 40 years and have gotten used to it. We try our best to remain open to everyone and to watch out from the years of dealing with that for that. But these are people who were GLD at center, which we've also had still. But I just didn't expect it. So it really broke my heart, and my heart should be able to love without trusting. I have to in Kenya. Just like I would love a baby. If a baby takes the cookie, I'm not going to say, oh, you're an awful baby because they took the cookie. I know I still want to love and nurture the baby. Unfortunately, even at 70 years old, I am still not mature enough to always feel that emotion. And I do want to be honest with my emotions so I can let them grow to maturity someday. And I feel a lot of anger around it. So I'm working on that. And I don't like feeling betrayed. And I don't like feeling the price that the children pay when thefts go on. But that's what happened in Kenya. So 13 smartphones were stolen in total, even table and lots of beds and Mattresses were sold to neighbors. I mean, oh my gosh. It is part of, I think, a post-pandemic not ready to bring foreigners, people from various countries to the centers when the centers sat empty so long. And I was worried about the condition of the centers. So I didn't want them to come to conditions they're not used to. That would be too difficult for them, especially when they pay to come. It just didn't feel right. So I've closed that part of IHF off, or at least haven't focused on it. And it might be that not having lots of eyes like that, what happens is, and this is a lesson for everyone working online with at-center people in various charities or businesses even, what happens is nobody wants to talk bad about someone else. They're scared to even, and then have them in trouble and that person going after them and, calling them horrible online, ruining their reputation. I'm used to it. But nobody wants that. And they don't want it in their community. What will happen to them if they tell on this person? So without that flow we've always had of visitors from around the world coming to the centers, you're asking people to tell on people who are their neighbors, and it will make their life, perhaps long term, very, very difficult. And that isn't really right of me to do. So that makes it even more important that we have many eyes online and many backup methods of local volunteers who are coming to the centers and filling out report cards on the center after their visits. But if we don't have an organized online team that is processing the local volunteers and doing the GOOT for local volunteers, then we won't be able to have that take place. And that brings me back to the training of those online who do the processing. What it means is whenever you're doing charity work at center or online, each has a domino effect on the other in a manner that many new volunteers have no way, and we can't expect them to comprehend. When they're with us for a year, now they understand, and they start to understand at a very sophisticated level, which is why they make such fantastic online or at center directors once they've been trained by us. But it's a slow process, and it's been difficult more than normal because we started with so many new at once post-pandemic. So Kenya has struggled last month. It struggled in terms of that taking place, the thefts. Kevin, who was a child with us, and the Kenya government said you must leave at 18, and had him return to Pakat, even though he had excellent grades. And we really wanted to get him a sponsor and go on to university. He and some other children were sent back by the government to Pakat. And I'm sure the government had its good reasons. It's just for us, we were attached to those children. And I've been very anxious to find Kevin. Finally, we found Kevin, and he is at the center helping greatly. He needs a lot of healing. And that's true for anyone who, when you lose your parents in horrible ways, when you are a witness to different tribal wars or abuse, those things stay in all of us, in every human being. And it just takes healing. But that's the thing that IHF is about. That healing, that having been through such pain and healing is what makes them the best leads and incredible, compassionate, wise human beings later. So Kevin is there. Naomi and her husband Mika are both teachers, and they're at the center. So that's wonderful. I'm so delighted about that. Stephen has just come on as the newest GLD. And Stephen's whole area is websites. He adores websites. He does coding itself, which will be very helpful. And I'm sure Shami will be relieved for our website. So he is there now. The problem is the government has gone from orphanages, children's home status to not renewing it year after year, saying they're not sure if they're going to go to foster care only, which I've been very concerned about in terms of wanting to be sure many eyes are on the children and they're not sexually abused in various homes, but wanting to go to that system only and not renewing. And we finally decided that even though they say it's okay to continue operating, but we can't officially do it until Parliament has made the decision, we didn't want to keep going that way. So we went CBO, community-based organization. We used to be both CBO and children's home, and just to kind of safeguard ourselves. And this transition of new members, when it's timing for the CBO report, requires my time, which I've been trying to do on top of the online GLD. And that's where we're at right now. Today, the government was to come at a particular time, and it looks like either they didn't show up or someone else didn't show up, and phone calls, very typical with Kenya, very, very typical with many places where last minute things that are all organized, certain people are no-shows, especially when it comes to government, and you just flow with it because you're used to it. But that's what caused me to be late here. Kenya will be doing for the future, it will be doing the teaching the classes it's been doing for how many years now. It will continue doing all those classes for the children because our computers and our laptop and our desktops and our smartphones were all stolen, literally all stolen. We will have to be teaching just English and math, but that's very helpful to the children, and getting them mentors, which is so important. It certainly changed my life when I was a young teen runaway. To have a mentor changed it dramatically. And then we will also be doing the free babysitting for the single mothers and impoverished, because we're quite worried about the children that run around without anyone to babysit them. It's not that the parents don't care, but it's that the parents often have had to come to the city from outer villages where all their relatives are to try to survive and make do, and they just can't afford the babysitting. And then we also have the free homework hours, helping the children with their homework. And that's the goal, is to do those as we've done for many years in the community gardening, and to try to strengthen the problems with our land. The land has become quite valuable, so people are always doing different cons, trying to get the land in different ways, and we'll continue addressing that and forming a trusteeship that we hope will be strong in helping to address it, along with our wonderful volunteer lawyers and others. That's Kenya. That's our 14 acres and 3 houses. The huge conference compound was on fire many years ago, and we have not rebuilt. But that's that wonderful, wonderful place. And then for Indonesia, in Jakarta, they have been doing workshops and classes. They have not gone above, I think it's the 200 to that 800 student mark they used to have. And I think that's wise of them. They're keeping it to the weekends post-pandemic until we open to the GLD from various countries and GLD at the centers, which I've not had time to focus on. And then we'll go back to the weekly. So right now they do that, and very valuable workshops along with teaching so many children who in Indonesia, I think they're third in the world for per population. The children who are not able to go from middle school to high school to that are decent enough to get the scores to be able to ever even consider getting a college degree or even high school. They don't complete high school. So that's our focus, a very strong focus in Indonesia, and to try to work with the parents to convince them of why it's worthwhile for their entire family, for their children to get educated in certain field areas, and to let the children experience they're not too stupid to, which most children, if they've not had a good schooling, they think it's their brain and that they're just not smart. So they don't have any enthusiasm for it. We all feel enthusiastic with what makes us feel good, not what makes us feel bad. And the same is true. The same activities are going on for Medan. And as I told you, Bali and Thailand are waiting for me. And as soon as I get the online GLD program finally organized and them finally doing their online teams well, then my focus will be on Thailand and Bali. And I will be sending, I hope, very soon, GLD, including a meal to those places. But I first have to make sure the online GLD program is doing its teams properly and has learned. Is that the update you wanted in detail, darling?
Yes, ma. Yes. Thank you very much, ma. Aniekeme is the one that would ask the next question. If he's still here.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you. We always want to say this. We feel sorry for what happened in Kenya. I always say this, that you are a good person, and thank you for what you have been doing for children and also for the adults. I think our listeners would also like to know, how has the GLD been progressing? Have there been any notable developments or achievements?
The GLD at center in Indonesia, I have had them working directly in Indonesia. I've never done that before instead of answering to me, but that's because Danny went back to before the tsunami. I think it's 2002. So it'd be 22 years he's been. And Ade is, I don't know how many years. They go to the beginning of Jakarta. So they go way, way back. And that's why they're just handling that for me while I am handling the online GLD program, since that's new, and focusing on that. So they just have normally every teacher that's teaching at our centers in Indonesia go through our GLD program with everyone else. Right now, I have them focused on just teaching classes and doing the workshops and being with the children and community needs independently of me, so that I don't need to handle. And I'm very thankful. I feel mean to Ade and Ayu, but I'm very, very thankful to them that they've done this. I could not have started the online GLD program if they hadn't agreed to do that. And for Kenya at Center GLD, I will need to focus on training them for their at center duties. We had planned that we would have 2 of our online GLD that I really love going to the center. Darice is here today, so she's one of them. And Darice follows instructions wonderfully. I don't have to tell her 10 times, and I just feel great. But I don't want her going to another country for the first time if there is any kind of confusion or conflict or difficulties, because it's difficult enough to be in a new environment. And I want to be sure of the condition of the buildings, along with that there's a really good, loving, happy feeling amongst everyone. That is more important than anything on any team, frankly. And part of the shame on grandma stuff going on that I'm being grouchy because it's just so important. So I have not sent Darice. She was going to, with Mary, go to Kenya when this took place with the thefts and what happened. But it does seem like we have a good team there. I have to focus on them at the center and teach the at center duties. Those are more complex than the online because they involve, you will have a woman come, a mother, a wife come whose husband has been beating her and she's seeking shelter. What are you supposed to do legally? Or a child that comes and says, my uncle is sexually abusing me. How are you supposed to handle that legally? Or somebody that's come to the center during the night and has stolen the irrigation stuff. How are you supposed to handle that? Learning all the scenarios that are involved with any at center charity anywhere. Learning those things. If you're in a loving environment, then even dealing with such crises has a team spirit and a river feeling of love, of connection with all humanity. But if you don't have that, then it becomes psychologically too much for individuals. And that's part of the learning. And that takes a lot of my time, just as online, which is much more practical teaching, takes a lot of time. So I will have to be spending time with the at center in Kenya, and then in Thailand, and then in Bali. They're all wanting it all at once. But it takes months of day in and day out interaction and learning, and in the spirit of being connected to each other and love and compassion and motivating each other with joy. For the online GLD, I think I am at a point, and this is my fault, it's always been my fault. I have a tendency, I hope everyone listening doesn't have this, and learns from something that has been a lifelong fault of mine. I have a tendency of staying too long in a situation and trying and getting emotional in the context of the situation. So I hurt the people because I've spent too long, tried too hard, and now find myself too emotional and too invested. And that's not wise. Most of you will have already learned where this 70-year-old and doing it day in and day out with literally thousands a year in volunteers and employees has yet to learn. So feel invigorated by the fact that I've been able to have a very joyous, fulfilling life with wonderful organizations and amazing human beings in spite of this problem. Let that invigorate you. And that is, how do I let folks go, especially if I'm personally attached to them, when I've learned so many times in my life that people who seemed unteachable or people who seemed like bringing the whole organization down, by sticking with them later became the most amazing human beings, giving so much to their communities, starting different nonprofits. What if I had given up on them? Because of that, I tend to not remove people. And I don't think I've ever removed someone where I've later, well, I probably have, but don't remember, where I've later thought, I shouldn't have removed them. Instead, what happens is after I remove them, I usually find out it was far worse than I realized. And I hurt the person because I keep them and get angry with them. And that's not healthy to do. I hope none of you listening have that fault of mine. It just doesn't work. And anger works immediately and is sometimes needed as a tool immediately. You have no choice. Aniekeme, my precious, amazing Aniekeme, who is this brilliant star that I adore, he knows I've gotten angry with him over and over again. And I have to use it as a tool with him sometimes. But he long term is just such an amazing human being that he knows the specific things I've been angry about. And I know, and he knows, that it's not helpful. There are others where I just need to not get angry and simply remove. And I'm dragging my feet. And I think each of you in your leadership roles will experience this. It's really hard to dismiss someone, isn't it? I mean, it's so hard. And I've been really bad about it. So, and to go through a clear process. So what is the clear process that is most helpful? The clear process in removing either an online GLD or an @center or anyone else, an employee, a volunteer, the clearest way to do it, and remember, I'm a hypocrite and I'm bad. The clearest way to do it is to tell the person, here is the bottom line. I have listed these items. Don't make it too many, please. Even if by now they should be knowing all of them, still don't make it too many. I have listed, these are the things you must do, and these are the timelines they must be done by. If at the end of this coming month or week, if it's a team that is weekly affected, or 2 weeks, however you want to choose, as a lead, when you're dealing with this problem I'm dealing with, hopefully better than I do, you say at the end of this month, let's agree together that it isn't working out, but we'll remain friends. I just professionally, I think we have to agree it's not working out. Perhaps you don't have enough time or other things are interfering. And it's best we have you removed from IHF now and at a later date, perhaps return. That's the clearest way. And ask the employee, or the volunteer, excuse me. I just did long workshops with employees I'm doing here in the US, so I keep confusing volunteer to them, saying volunteer, and now I'm doing employee to you. Ask the volunteer, not employee, ask the volunteer to please specify any changes they think will be helpful to this form. And what I find when I do those last forms where I'm ready to get rid of them, I'm just done. What I find is they will come back to me with suggestions that tell me, holy moly, they're not even on the right train track. And then I'll find out some other person somewhere trained them with something so they didn't even know to, and I'll have someone else far more dependable train that person. But sometimes they'll come back saying, yes, absolutely, I will do it. And it won't take place. Do know that you will have, as you always have, lots of excuses when it doesn't take place. But you have already made clear that despite the many stories and excuses, of which there are always valuable ones, and it's not telling you that your excuses are not justified and valuable, it's just telling us that because the excuses are valid and justifiable, we need to end it now because there's been a pattern of justifiable excuses and it's creating problems for IHF. So having that clear and ending it with an agreement stated is the best way to do it. And what this old grandma does instead, because she gets attached to the personalities and likes the people, is she sits there begging them and arguing with them. And, and that's not what you want to do. for our online GLDs, what I want this coming month is to not lose a single one of them. If we have to dismiss one or two, then we do. And we do it using this form. And if we don't, I'll be so relieved. Grandma will be dancing grandma jig. And that our GLD are learning to pay close attention to instructions and ask questions without excuses after not doing. Ask questions if they don't understand. If they don't learn to follow instructions, I can't take them to that next stage that I love, which is the motivational psychological aspect of leadership that is no different than the bliss every conductor feels when he's conducting an orchestra. It's blissful. And I've had a lifetime of that bliss. I've been so blessed. But I can't get to that point if I can't get them following simple instructions. So that is my goal for the online GLD for this coming month, is that they learn to follow instructions. Ta-da! That's my long answer.
You also want to say that I know that we stress you a lot as online GLDs, but I'm sitting here because of you. Yeah, I know the impact you've GLD has done for me. Some things I didn't even know I could do, and I'm doing it, and I'm learning not just technical skill, but personal skill, so many of them. So I know I don't have the right to say this, but on behalf of all of us, I ask that you please just kindly be patient with us. I'm so sorry, please. I apologize. I know that I don't have the right to, but I'm really sorry on behalf of all of us. And you're doing so well for us, and we do not take them for granted. So I know you've
Darice, that
also
means
talked.
so much to hear.
Oh,
It
thank
means
you.
a lot, honey. If I know you're learning practical stuff that is actually helping you, then I have energy to do it. But if I see the same mistakes repeated and repeated, I feel like I am not just wasting my last years of life and my last time with my mother that I treasure, but I'm wasting your time also. And then I lose the energy to want to do it. Patience is absolutely required. Where the problem comes, honey, and you haven't had this problem, so I can't use you as an example, but where it comes is where I have these delicious human beings who have such talent that I'm literally like a baby in love with, like a baby who is just giggling over a starfish moving. It's so beautiful. And I see how this blossom is going to blossom. And I'm so excited. And at a certain point, I see that it's not the season for this flower to blossom. And I can't by hand open the blossom without hurting it. And it's hurting IHF because we've been very patient for a long time. And it's not its season. It's not its time. And sometimes we have to look at it that way. Sometimes it is a matter of being patient and its season is almost coming. And sometimes it's realizing the amount of damage. Now, sometimes, and this is a lesson in leadership for all of you with your employees, with your volunteers. Sometimes it is that they're in the wrong department, matching the wrong skills. And that's your fault then as the lead. Aniekeme, can I use you as an example again, my darling? For example, Aniekeme has so many talents that it's easy to place him in teams that don't make the most use of his unique genius. And everyone has a unique genius. What a boring, boring world if God made every field full of the same flowers looking the same and the world was nothing else. And yet for some weird reason, insecure adults want everybody to be the same flower as them and match the flower that they know so that they don't feel stupid. So, silly grandma has not made the best use of Anikeme's gorgeous flower. So sometimes it's that you've put them in the wrong department. So instead of removing them, it's that you are better attuned and have more in-depth conversations where they're not scared, as in my case, often scared to tell you what it is that their passion and love is. Now, sometimes your organization doesn't need them in that area. And you're going to have to tell your employee, this is where you are. Your volunteer, this is where you are. This is what you were hired for. We will move you later, but I need to know you can do this well first. You're going to, as a lead, and as you've been leading large groups of people and organizing them very well. Remember, organizing always means they know their simple task, they can do it well, so they feel good, and they know when it's due. It fits into their timeline, and you constantly check in with them personally and motivate them so they feel personally motivated, so they as a blossom can flower. You can, as you're leading, you will start instinctively knowing these things. But you'll also have times, even if you've been doing it for 44 years like me, you will have times where you will have to say, and I hope you do say openly, boy, did I goof. Because as long as you say to all your volunteers, boy, did I goof, like Aniekeme, an example with me, boy, did I goof, then they will have the opportunity to freely say, boy, was I stupid, and laugh. Boy, did I goof. Well, there's a lesson for me. And not feel that that identifies them as a worthwhile or not worthwhile human being, but instead laugh at the splendor of being able to learn and grow. Huge difference, and huge difference in the quality of you as a lead then. And believe me, you won't make as many constant mistakes over the years as me, but you will make them. And it's an important part of being a lead who motivates and is effective, is being able to share that with others so they feel comfortable making mistakes, admitting to them, not pointing fingers at others, and growing. Just like I need to grow lots. Next question. That's my goal for the online GLDs, is that they learn to follow instructions, to be honest when they haven't been following instructions. There's something else before the next question, and this is important. We have a going on online, and you want each of you listening, if you're working with a lot of employees or volunteers online, that accountability and having back windows for accountability is more important than ever. And that's been a big lesson for me with online GLD. It is human nature. Don't dislike your employees and volunteers if they exaggerate. And you and I call it lying. We will call it disinformation and misunderstanding. Human nature, at least for me, I always think I have more time to do what I need to do than I have. Always. 70 years, and I still haven't figured out time. I always think time offers me more to get done in its space than it does. And it sometimes closes on me, and I think impossible. It's been 10 minutes, not an hour. It is human nature. And how much time they put into things, or say they're putting in, or say they will put in. If you do not have back windows, such as we use donated hours, and we stopped using it thinking we didn't have to. And I realized because our at Center GLD we're doing very accurately. I realized with the online program, who are so wonderful, they're not lying, even though we call it that. It isn't, it's human nature. I might be doing the same thing. We think we've spent more time doing something, or we think we have enough time to do something, and we want to. and we don't want to say no, and we so much want to help. But in reality, there's only so much time, and we will stress ourselves and we will put in inaccurate. So it's a favor to your employees, to your volunteers, that as a lead, you have things like donated hours, asking them to be very specific of what they did, how much time they spent doing it, and then you go in and verify if it was done. You are actually, it's not that you're not trusting them, it's that you know human nature and that we all want to do more than we can actually do. So that verifying is going to relieve them in the end, because you will have them on doing less and what they can do in that time. And they'll be learning time management skills in the process. So I do want to mention that in terms of goals for our GLD, and what I love about our online GLD, which I love. We have the best personalities. Oh my God, I love them. They're just treasures, absolute treasures. I'm hoping they are my treasures until I die. They're just treasures. But learning that time management and having authorization, having people in back auditing time, I think is going to reduce the stress for all of them. That auditing of time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Wonderful.
You've answered the goal, so I'll just move to the next question. It says, as we look ahead, what are your hopes and aspirations for IHF? Can be the projects online GLD, the centers. What are your hopes and what do you aspire for them moving on?
Oh, I love this question. This is the question you mentioned to me that you'd be asking, and I love. And I didn't think about it. I just my heart blossomed when I saw that. My future goals are that all these wonderful, wonderful human beings start their own NGOs or are these inspirational, wonderful directors throughout the world in various international NGOs or businesses internationally that connect the people, and that understand that need for every employee or volunteer to feel treasured in life, and that type of leadership is spreading. How do I word this? Oh my God, it's so important to me. It's what I treasure, that each of these individuals, just as I've been so blessed to experience so far, that each of them have impact from their experience in making this world a better place in their unique way. And it does not need to be big. It could be very big and global. It can be consulting with presidents and not have the same impact and joy as sometimes one-on-one dealing with individuals. What is big and what is small in long-term impact, none of us know. Think about amazing Eleanor Roosevelt, who did so much. And yet, one of the best things she did, bringing peace between countries and definition of boundaries, created the end of so many nomadic tribes and millions of people being trafficked because they were left out and didn't understand boundaries and didn't have a name calling them a country. So when land was given to certain countries, millions and millions of people were put into slavery. And Eleanor, who was the most gorgeous, amazing human being, did something she never meant to do. We can never define what we do as big or small or be attached to its end results. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of your impact. I'm talking about the quality of your leadership in making this world a better place in a way that makes you happy, spreads your happiness to others, makes you feel connected to humanity, which has a downside. You also feel their pain, but you feel that deep, deep river that no happiness can touch in terms of that deep, quiet bliss when you're sitting alone. That river that connects us. That kind of leadership, whether it's small or big, that's what I want for IHF to be teaching its children and its adults, while also teaching very practical needed skills, math, English, teaching online. How do you do spreadsheets? How do you track people? How do you keep the law and process applicants? How do you keep members' files or employees' files and update them? How do you also the practical? I want them to learn the practical, of course, but underneath the practical, that's my greatest passion for IHF, and why IHF and its grown children give me such joy that I can't even put into words and express. Any other questions?
Yes, there is, Ma. Thank you very much.
Oh, goody. I would love more questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Lastly, Ma, how can our listeners support IHF efforts or get involved in meaningful ways?
Aha. How can you support IHF or get involved? You can be two kinds of a member. You can be an active member, which means that you're volunteering on any of our teams. And it's best if you just pick one team, unless you're a GLD, but we'll talk about that later. But you can volunteer on a team. And so that's an active membership. You can be a supporting member, which means you're sponsoring IHF, whether it's as little as a few dollars a month or a class, which varies from $14 to $36, I believe it is, a month. Or it can be a one-time donation. You can be either a sponsoring member or an active member, meaning you're volunteering, or both. And it's a basic supporting in one way or the other that's easiest for you. And you don't have to do it through IHF. You may have another charity that you do it through. But it's supporting the concept of pass it on, that we believe that each of us, though we're so busy and so stressed with our jobs, demands, that each of us can donate a little bit of time or a little bit of money to some effort that trains people to help their community, the children in their community and the adults around their community, to make this world a better place. And most importantly, to understand the joy of that. So you can help by being a volunteer, or you can help by some small donation monthly if you don't have time, but you have the means to support in some small way. Both ways are very, very meaningful. That's my answer.
Okay, Ma, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking out time out of your very tight schedule. I know you're a very busy woman, but I assure you, we don't take any of it for granted. We hope to have you here frequently, because I personally enjoy hearing you speak, because I know at the end of every conversation, I would have taken note of something, or you'd have added something to my life. So, and I know that our listeners do feel the same way. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a GLD. I am so blessed. So blessed. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do in the world. I am so blessed to be able to surround myself and work with, day in and day out, the best human beings on this globe who want to help the world be a better place in their community in whatever way they choose. And to be able to know you, darling, and work with you, I'm just, I cannot thank you enough. I told you and I
Oh,
promised you, and I will be here each week if you have questions you want to ask. And they can be on children that are trafficked, on nomadic tribes. They can be on business. What are the changes going on in businesses? They can be on how is poverty changing? How will it change in the future? What are the needs? What are employment within the charity fields? They can be on any questions you have at all. And I'll be here for you, sweetie. All right?
thank you, Ma.
All right. Thank you, darling. I am going to hop off now, sweet love.
All right, Ma. Aniekeme.
Okay, thank you very much, Darius. Thank you very much, Carol, for being here with us. And to you, our listeners, our backbone, thank you for tuning in. Do follow us on all our social media platforms at ihfonline.org, on Instagram, and our Twitter at ihfonline, on our website to follow up on all our future projects and past and current projects at www.ihfonline.org. And from here, Darius, as Grandma said, continue passing on kindness, passing on goodwill, and keep spreading the good vibes, and keep making a difference. So we meet again. Back to you, Darius.
Thank you, Aniekeme. That's right. Thank you all for listening to Talk with the CEO. Thank you to Abraham and Joycey from the podcast team and the whole podcast team for making this episode a success. We love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.